I want to start with free agency, obviously, because our three teams, I think, are a pretty good meter as some team that did a lot, a team that did a little, and then Bobby's team that did absolutely fucking nothing in free agency. So
who's the team that did a little? The Patriots?
Yeah. So let's just
really?
start there.
I feel like you guys have done a lot. Okay. Fine.
So before free agency started, DK, just if I were to tell you what is the biggest need that the New England Patriots needed in free agency, what the fuck would you say?
Offensive line. Wide receiver.
Okay, yeah. And what else?
Wide receiver.
Great. So to fill that void, they signed Mack Hollins, the Bills' number 3 wide receiver, and Morgan Moses to a 3-year, $24 million contract. He's a right tackle. We need a left tackle, which means that we're probably going to have to draft that Will Campbell kid, number 4, which really fucking blows.
Is he a tackle? How many
that's been the talk on the street is this guy's wingspan, dude.
Is he debate? I did not know we would be having.
Yeah, he's got T-Rex arms. He's like 32 and a quarter. It's not great.
I quite frankly, I feel strongly that that's in the camp of like the advanced analytics, the nerds are taking over type talking point. Like, I mean, can the guy fucking play tackle or can he not play tackle? I understand that the game has evolved. You know, the college game is very different now, and they're so spread out, and they have very different sort of like growth and running schemes, especially at the tackle position. But surely there's more advanced tape on what constitutes a guard in the NFL and what constitutes a tackle than the millimeters he's missing from his arms, right? Because when this is a new debate, right? I feel like this is the first I'm hearing of this year. Have I just not been paying attention? Am I crazy?
You just not been paying attention.
Yeah,
really? We've been talking about arm length this whole fucking time.
Well,
there was guards and there was tackle. I thought.
And honestly, in the last like 4 years,
to change a guy's position based on his fucking arm length.
Well, in the last 4 years, when have either of our teams been looking to draft a tackle in the top 10? So like that's why it's not always been. If you're gonna waste or use a top 5 pick in the Patriot case this year, they're gonna go in. They're gonna go through every stupid little metric and research data point that they have to, which is probably why you're hearing about it more now.
I mean, it might sound like I'm oversimplifying, but I'm pretty sure you can draft Will Campbell and play him at left tackle. I'm pretty sure you can. Only because he was the best left tackle in college. Like, maybe they should just draft the guy who is the best at the position in college if they need that position. I'll say this. If you think it constitutes a reach at 4, I could understand. I genuinely could understand it constituting a reach at 4 if there's real positional, I guess, concerns, would you call them? Or is it definite? Like, are you definitely drafting a guard? Is that what you're saying?
Well, a tackle. We need a left tackle.
But I'm saying if you draft Will Campbell, are you definitely drafting a guard? Like, are you getting a guard with Will Campbell?
No, I think they'll make him. I think I'm in your camp, dude. Like, if he's been a tackle for 8 years in high school and college, he could probably play tackle in the NFL, right? And it wasn't like he was in the SEC, so like he was facing good pass rush. But in the most recent mock drafts from like ESPN and PFF, he's not even in the top 10. They have. I mean, if he falls to 10, and the Bears don't draft him, I'd be like, what are we doing? Like, I know, and we even addressed our offensive line issues. We addressed our offensive line issues for the most part. Like, we got 3 great interior guys, and like the fact that we did what we did at center is mind-boggling to me. I haven't had a good center since Olin Kreutz. But I mean, if Will Campbell's there, I feel like I'm taking him unless someone else outrageous is also there, right? Like, it's not, you know, like if maybe there's a Travis Hunter there or something, I'll be like, yeah, fuck that. They're like, just get him. I don't care. But I doubt that's going to be the case. But because like I've been toying with GT for months and months, thinking we could maybe put ourselves in a position to like. But Will Campbell, I mean, fuck it, dude. Who cares? Best player available by 10, right? Are you guys thinking you're going to do the same thing at 4? I think if it's him or if it's the edge rusher that everyone's going after, everyone's talking about, then they're probably going to go defense again. Which again wouldn't make fucking sense to me because they still
he might not get past 1. He might be the first pick in the draft.
No.
Yeah, he's top 3, easy. Oh, unless it goes quarterback. I think that Bobby might be right, but he might drop to 4. I feel like if he's there, take again.
Right.
Like if he's there, take. There's a lot of really good options for the team that doesn't need to pick a QB. Like we're both in this kind of like nice situation. When we're in the on paper apparently weakest quarterback draft in forever. I think it's probably the one we always talk about with Fields, with like looking back on that year. But on paper, apparently you shouldn't be drafting a QB in the top 10. Like you're not getting a quality QB in the top 10.
Right.
Potential, right? Potentially, but like,
right.
But I think then this has been talked to death. But there's that whole thing of like, is Dion letting his kid go to Cleveland? Probably not. Like he has to fall. He has to fall to the Raiders, right? Like that's what's going to happen. So I don't think we're going to get a 1 and 2 quarterback draft like we always do, or at least a 1 like we always do. So you have this really nice. You're in this really nice position at 4, I think, on like in your head until you start to realize that like you're like it's not as much of an advantage that your need doesn't need to be addressed before you. You know what I mean? Like it's like you love it being in the top 5 if you don't need a QB, and it's so weird and rare, right? Because usually if you don't need a QB, it means you're not a fucking eligible for a top 5 pick, right? But like we're both in this weird situation where it's like, well, I think we got our guy, I think, so we're not going to draft the QB. But like Bobby's nowhere near us, in the kind of picks we've been getting over. I mean, this year, but like in the kind of picks we've been getting over the last few years. So it's like, but he's in a position where there's so many things that you need to address, and it's starting to get worse. So on the one hand, I think you're in a nice spot where there's an embarrassment of riches by the time you hit 4, right? And there's probably, what would you say, like 3 to 5 guys that you're just not mad if they draft. Right. Yeah. Like, but probably 5. There's probably 5 guys that like, if they drop to you or they're still there and that you're expecting it, you're not pissed off. And I feel the same way about 10. So, I just think there's a ton of value positionally for teams that are looking for positions. But then again, if there's no QB demand or QB supply and demand before you, it sort of reduces the value of that 4th a little bit. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, 100%. But like I guess why I'm irritated, because this is just my default setting, is that we still have this big need at left tackle, and then you see what the Commanders gave up, or
where's the left tackle right now? What left tackle did you want to get?
There.
It's fucking drought. It's barren out there.
Laramie,
because they don't leave their
from
team.
Houston left and went to Washington for a 3rd round pick, 7th round pick, and 2nd round pick next year.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth it.
That's a lot.
He's the 2nd best tackle in the league.
Yeah, it's weird that they traded him.
Yeah, 100%.
To be honest,
it's
weird that they traded him. It's suspicious. It's suspicious that they traded him.
One of my big gripes so far is that we do have all these draft picks, and clearly if it's a weak draft in terms of left tackles or in free agency, and you can just offer that trade, do it. But I want to just get back to what you guys think about the Patriots free agency, and then we'll go to the Cowboys and to the Bears. So the Patriots, they really just dominated free agency in terms of just defense, right? Milton Williams, I love that. I really love that. I thought when he went to Carolina, I was pissed. I was like, you got to go get him, and it turns out they did. Carlton Davis, Harold Landry, those are 3 top 15, top 20 starters in the league that are now on your defense. But then Mack Hollins and Josh Dobbs, I don't understand that. But ultimately, I would say that, listen, if my biggest gripe with the Patriots last year was their lack of talent on the field, they just got exponentially better and more talented on the defensive side. But am I right to be a little upset?
I would say
Bobby?
Yes and no. I would say yes, just because, like you said, they did miss the glaring weaknesses of wide receiver and offensive line, especially wide receiver. I know that they tried to go after Godwin, but it seems like he accepted a lot less to say in Tampa. So I guess it wasn't. Yeah, I guess it wasn't worth. Wasn't for a lack of trying.
$20 million.
They think they got something down there. They think they got
Agreed.
something down there. I think we should keep note of that as we go into our prediction show.
So the performances that they had last year, where like Baker and his sort of like establishing himself as their franchise guy, if you're doing that, like you must really believe you might be able to win some shit coming into next year.
And
so I think we should
I would
definitely
say
keep an eye
no
on that.
because
Sorry, I
Milton
interrupted you.
Williams
Go
is a
ahead.
great pickup. I think he was one of the more undervalued pickups of free agency, to be honest. I know he was kind of overshadowed by Jalen Carter a lot this year, but he had such a good Super Bowl and such a good playoff run. And I know it was like a little bit of an overpay, but I mean, NFL is a copycat league, and if there's no other way to right, and there's no way to copycat than to take
for a
than
Super
to take
Bowl
straight
ring.
from the NFL.
You know,
Patriots
you
are
want to
in
get a guy.
I love the Milton Williams sign.
Right. I mean, the Patriots are in that, like to your point, Bobby, and what you're going to say, DK. Like the Patriots are in that suck tax phase. Like they're going to have to pay that extra 10 to 15% more than you need to pay for a guy just to get them to come here, because they've just seen the NFL just sees A, the report cards that the players gave the Patriots, and B, what we've been the last 6 years without Brady and with the demise of Bill. So
Yeah, but
you have to overpay.
you're in a. I think it's okay to overpay right now because I think what you're in is a culture building phase. I mean, it's a strange thing to say about the New England Patriots, who basically like invented the best football culture we've ever seen in our lifetime. But you obviously had to the clean house conversations we've had a million times on this podcast, and banishing ghosts, et cetera, and how like basically it seems like the narrative because Vrabel's not from the coaching tree of Bill Belichick, but he's still in sort of like the umbrella. I don't know what you would call it, the forest, maybe not the tree, but the woods. Then you still sort of have all that seems to do is build into everybody's attitude. Like, okay, he's the guy who's experienced a great culture, so let's see if he can build one. So what you want to do is you want to go get winners, locker room guys. Talented guys, obviously, and I think signings like this really reflect that because you're going to bring in a guy who's been there, right? And unfortunately, the Patriots are a full generation removed now from anybody in the building being there, having been there, I should say. So when the coach and you bring guys in like the coach, the new signings that he's bringing in, the new staff. Even getting guys like the linebacker from Tennessee because he's a Vrabel guy, you're sort of living with it because you wouldn't want to spend that much money on a linebacker like of that quality usually, I would say. But I think he can be a really solid performer for you. I don't know if it's like lighting the world on fire, getting him, but he's a Vrabel guy. He's there to establish culture. So for me, it's like that's the tax you're paying, right? I don't know if it's a suck tax. I think it's like we need to sort of change our hearts or die kind of a phase where Vrabel's making sort of statement signing in the past few weeks. So to me, I think you're doing the right thing, and we got on each other's curves so much less than I thought that we would in this offseason so far. Like I really thought because we were in more similar situations, but strangely, obviously Johnson's going to have to come into Chicago and do some stuff with culture, but it's like not what we're doing, which might scare me a little bit, but like the X's and O's that we're addressing is great. So, but we're paying premiums on our X's and O's signings. So it's kind of what you have to give that extra tax to your new head coach, I think is essentially my point. So it's like, it's a suck tax, but it's also like let's see what he's made of. We'll actually spend the money, and he does have a cheap owner. So this is good. This is good news. Like if you were making tiers of like cheapness of owners, like Kraft would be pretty low on the list because Belichick used to laugh at the first 2 days of free agency. He would be in the fucking sweeping the Copacabana in the first 2 days of free agency. There was I don't remember for the life of me the most recent, like Bill Belichick just went out and spent $48 million on day one.
2021, he spent $230 million. Hunter Henry,
that was
Jonnu Smith.
But that was the whole issue. Was the first time he ever tried to do that, and it was because the ship was finally sinking, right? But for how long was it like, oh wow, the Patriots traded a 7th rounder for a guy they're going to pay $6 million the next year? Like that was the entire time we were in high school and college. That was the MO of the Bill Belichick Patriots, right? So, and it didn't work out. Is the thing. Like it worked out with the way Bill used to do it, and the guys and then when he went against that system. In the waning days of his GM-ery, when you guys were lighting the fucking building on fire at that point, about him as the GM mostly, you were. And it was always that. It was always the GM thing. But essentially he kind of proved himself right, because when he did that, it didn't fucking work. And when other teams do that, it seems to like not work that much a lot of the time. I mean, how many times have we seen the Cleveland Browns like splash at the start of a free agency? And you're like, oh, they're building something down there in Cleveland. And it's like, it's always going to be a shit made of shit, guys, because you're the Cleveland Browns. So I would be happy, honestly, that it's more culture spending and establishment spending than it is like even maybe what we're doing by just like splashing the cash in positions in order to set ourselves up for best player available in the draft.
Robert Spillane
or what Bobby's
is
doing,
a
which is
very underrated pickup for you guys. The Raiders fans love that dude. Apparently, he plays with a lot of grit.
Yeah.
Are you going to sign? The sign is to go look at the subreddit of the fan base that gets rid of the guy. You know, go and look at the forums of the guy who gets rid of him. So if Raiders fans like him, that is good news, Bob. Like you're essentially like how you have to go to how mad are you to lose the guy meter. You got to go to the other teams like discussions and be like, if they're heartbroken, then we're in good shape. Because I remember all the Raiders fans coming to the Bears subreddit when Shane Waldron went over there, and they were like, so what do you guys think? And we were like, oh my God, have so much fun over there with that offensive coordinator. So that's a good sign.
So why haven't they gone after, and this is the only name that I'm really interested in. Like, why is Amari Cooper not a New England Patriot right?
Yeah, Cooper Kupp would be I think Cooper Kupp is the guy more likely to be in New England, to be honest.
Doesn't that look likely?
Well,
why is that?
I'm fine with that
too. To do with his height and skin color and the Patriots.
No, it has nothing to
for those particular guys. Everyone's like, it just makes sense. It's like go be Wes Welker, dude. Like, what? You're white. Go play wide receiver in New England. What are you doing? Fucking hell! We should have already.
Would you rather have Cooper Kupp or Amari Cooper? The only reason why I asked that question, I get that Cooper Kupp's plus side is way higher. However, Amari Cooper is more consistent. His the best ability is availability, and Cooper Kupp has only played one full season.
Cooper Kupp makes your quarterback better by playing even a full season, or even most of it, 1 season and 2 seasons with Cooper Kupp. If you sign him to a 2-year contract, I think you end up with a much improved Drake Maye, because he's had one of the more serious route runners and playmakers in the past 10 years in the NFL come to his team, and it shows him what he can really do. Amari Cooper, I just don't know if he fits what they're going to try to do this year down there. If you think about what Vrabel's offensive schemes look like and what Drake Maye's been capable of, I don't think Vrabel's had a quarterback like this. So I think he might have some fun and maybe get a chip on his shoulder about how people say he is with his offense, and what people kind of viewed him on his way out of Tennessee, where on the offensive side of the ball, even though we all thought he got fired. I think Cooper Kupp, I think he just is a great outlet for a second-year QB who's trying not to throw a bunch of picks. And I think that you have to have it's not to say that it's harder to throw to Amari Cooper, because he's also a really, really good wide receiver, but I think you need to find deeper, more complicated routes with an Amari Cooper than you do with a Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp makes it a lot easier on you in between the numbers. So just stylistically between the two guys, because we make the joke about Wes Welker, but Cooper Kupp and Wes Welker are nothing like each other as wide receivers. You know what I mean? They're not at all the same guy. So the flash that Cooper Kupp could bring could also, off of easy throws, if we're being honest, could also really help Drake Maye's confidence, because they're going to boost his numbers. You know what I mean? You got to get the ball to Amari Cooper. He's going to be in a great position down the field, but they're tighter seams. Cooper Kupp just needs to kind of turn around and be like, just give me the ball. He's one of those guys. It's why you guys were trying to get Debo so hard. It's why you guys wanted Debo, because everyone wants their rookie QB to have a playmaker instead of a route runner or a deep threat, right? It was perfect timing when Randy Moss showed up for Tom Brady, right? Because he had gotten all those kinks out, and he was like, I'm gonna absolutely find this guy down the fucking seams every single time. So, but if he gets Randy Moss in his second year at the same thing, of course not. So even though that's 2002 Randy Moss. So it's at the end of the day, I think I would vote Cooper Kupp. I don't know if Bobby
vote Cooper Kupp,
but that's my sort of take on it.
It's just because if he's 100% healthy, he's definitely a better wide receiver than Amari Cooper is. I've had Amari on my team, and I love Amari to death. The health thing is definitely a thing, but if you're
I
getting
know
100%
the health thing. The
healthy
health thing
Cooper Kupp
is a
with Drake
thing.
Maye, you're taking that up a whole nother step, and you're giving him a weapon, like DK said, that can get open at any time. And if you're struggling with offensive line, you have a wide receiver who is great at that 1-2 get open. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I mean, honestly, Cooper Kupp is closer to Malik Neighbors than he is to, a Larry Fitzgerald. Like he really could make a quarterback that's struggling and that's having a bad game that doesn't really know how to like read his way out of it yet because he's in his second year, so that's fine. That you make some. I do still hope you make some serious offensive line adjustments to in the coming weeks draft. I mean, you still do need to do that, but if you do get Cooper Kupp, you could start to apply the practice of, well, we're getting the ball out of Drake's hands in 3 seconds or less, right? So I don't know if Amari Cooper is like making up that extra ground. And I'm not saying Drake Maye is going to have a bad year or he's going to digress, like have any digression or whatever, but it's putting the guy in the best possible situation so you don't break his brain.
Yep. No, I agree. Listen, if they get Cooper Kupp or Amari Cooper, and and then they draft Will Campbell, I would say that this offseason so far would be
tough grader.
A B+.
It's a tough grader.
Like, that's great. Then they addressed every need. They got a left tackle. Well, it hinges on them getting a number one wide receiver, Bobby, because they just signed Mack fucking Hollins. I mean, what?
You don't like
We already
you don't
have
like the guy that doesn't wear
three,
shoes into the
wide
locker
receivers
room?
on our team. We don't need a fifth. You know? I mean, if he turns out to be Randy fucking Moss, I'll love him and I'll eat my words. But he just wasn't with Josh Allen, and I have
Save on cleat costs though.